All right, communication. It's going to be an overview of what I've learned in the past 7 weeks. And my name is Final-Shurko. All right, this is going to be our agenda. I'm going to go over communication, the process of communication, barriers to communication, competence in communication, communication in 2021, lessons for the workspace, interpersonal communication, verbal and nonverbal communication, and then we'll wrap it up with a summary/conclusion. The past 7 weeks have given me the opportunity to improve my communication skills. Through our lively and engaging discussion posts and through provoking written assignments, I could see the benefits of a structured, instructor-led communication course that has helped me in my everyday life. All right, communication is the intentional transmission or sharing of a message or information between two or more people. Communication takes place through a variety of means, which can include, but are not limited to, verbal, nonverbal, written, visual, symbolic, and chemical. All right, the communication process. Here we have the transmission model, the interaction model, and the transaction model. The transmission model is a linear one-way process in which the sender intentionally transmits a message to a receiver. It's direct. I tell you, you receive. Pretty cut and dry. The interaction model is a communication as a process in which participants alternate positions as sender and receiver and generate meaning by sending messages and receiving feedback within physical and physiological contexts. Combined, I say, you say, go back and forth. And the transaction model of communication describes communication as a process in which communicators generate social realities within social, relational, or cultural contexts. This model includes participants who are simultaneously senders and receivers and accounts for how communication constructs our realities, relationships, and communities. All right, some barriers to communication. Personal. What do we mean by personal? Emotion, attitude. Do you have a resistance to change? Do you have a preconception, prejudice? What's your personality like? Do you label? And then we have a physical barrier, which could be a sensory impairment. Are you deaf, blind? Do you have a cognitive impairment, memory issues? Do you have a problem-solving impairment, emotional problems, a physical challenge, a speech impediment, meaning you stutter, or have a tic? Then we have cultural, language differences, our health practice, beliefs, religion, diversity in race, gender, age, health status, religion, or social, or correction, sexual orientation. Anyone can become a successful communicator. According to Mayer, anyone who's already a good communicator can become better. Choice, not chance, determines human destiny. Failure to make that choice may result in a significant consequence of job failure, loss of money, lack of constructive change, a broken relationship, or even the loss of a life dream. And this is a good slide where Dwight is communicating how Dunder Mifflin has to change. And what are some communication skills for 2021? You got to have emotional intelligence. You got to be an active listener. Clarity, and that's important. Be clear and precise. Have 3 main points. so you don't confuse the listener or drag it out. Tone. The tone of voice of communication is defined as the way a person speaks to someone. It is how you use your voice to get your point across. I think that's very important. A lot of communication can be misinterpreted by tone. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And open-mindedness. It's the willingness to search actively for evidence against one's favorite beliefs, plans, or goals, and to weigh such evidence fairly when it is available. Ultimately, are you open to change? All right, some communication lessons for the workplace. For the group and organizational, communication is the sending and receiving of messages among interrelated individuals within a particular environment or setting to achieve individual goals, which are common. Organizational communication is highly contextual and culturally dependent. And this is leading to communication and culture. According to Jones, 4 key identities that are mandatory for performing good communication efforts are race, gender, sexual orientation, and ability. Others consider to be religion, age, nationality, and class. These terms are generally understood these days as diversity training and efforts to foster equality within the workplace, schools, and marketplace. But cultural understanding is an ongoing process for any society. Mass communication. Mass communication is the public transfer of messages through a media or technology-driven channel to a large number of recipients from an entity, usually involving some type of cost or fee. Advertising is an example. Digital and social media. It's the internet, digital media, which began in the 90s. Digital communication now has a potential to reach millions in seconds. This means communication professionals must be up to speed to effectively use these tech marvels to communicate. Example, Mr. Trump was really good at communicating via Twitter during the Iranian uprising. That's how they primarily communicated, was via Twitter until it got shut down. And the future of technology is the knowledge of adapting and of emerging technology. According to Skinner, to continuously manage new media, we have to be knowledgeable of various other aspects and developments, including social network platforms, crowdsourcing, intellectual property rights, citizen journalism, and alternative media, open sourcing, content filtering, gatekeeping, digital advertising, cyber stalking, online bullying, and new media ethics. Interpersonal communication. All right, you want to tailor your speech to your audience. You want to ask questions to show your interest in what's being said, and that's if you're the receiver. Match what you're saying with your voice and your body language. If it's a authoritative speech or class or presentation, you don't want to have a submissive posture, shoulders down, head down. You want to be assertive, shoulders back, chin up, project your voice. And you want to reflect on what someone has said by summarizing and paraphrasing, and actively listen. Jones defines interpersonal communication as the process of exchanging messages between people whose lives mutually influence one another in unique ways in relation to social and cultural norms. He even speculated on the idea that interpersonal communication has a positive impact on our physical and physiological health. Verbal communication is the use of words to share information with other people, and therefore include both spoken and written communication. It's pretty cut and dry there. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is the transfer of information through the use of body language, including eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, and more. Nonverbal gestures like head or eye movements, shaking your head, nodding your head, facial expressions, eyes up, looking surprised, or even posturing might send a message well before you open your mouth to speak. This is why it's important to learn about nonverbal communication. And cultures have different nonverbal communication as well, so know your culture. All right, we're going to wrap it up with this slide and this quote. Reason leads to conclusions, emotion leads to action. After learning some of the concepts in this course, I've definitely become a better communicator. I've developed competence, confidence, I think more self-esteem with communication. I've been able to maybe get my point across clearer, use different methods to get my point across. It's definitely helped with my wife, my sons, mom and dad, even my dogs. They can kind of see my nonverbal communication sometimes. It's been a good solid 7 weeks. Learned a lot. And thank you for your time. And these are my sources. Thank you.